Hello and welcome to another episode of Tri Talk. Today with me, as ever, are my two wonderful co-hosts, Aneta Grabmiller-Soldati and Scott Anderson. We are going to be giving you guys a rundown, finally, having done this, 3 weeks after the actual race of 2025 XTERRA World Championships, the long course, the actual World Championships, the race we all were interested in. All of us were there. So, yeah. Hey, guys.
Hi.
It's been so long ago that this is going to be a very short episode because you've probably forgotten half of the stuff that happened.
No, it was unforgettable.
Was it unforgettable? Wait. Oh, okay, maybe we'll talk about this later, but do we think this was an unforgettable year?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, for me personally, at least.
Let's give some background about what happened. So we were coming into the race. We had the short track on Thursday. The race itself was on Saturday. That meant one rest day kind of active recovery day for the athletes between the two races. What it also meant is on Friday it was absolutely bucketing down with rain. The conditions were just so bad, and so we'll talk about mud, because mud was a really defining feature for this race. It's the third time, fourth. It's the fourth time we've had this race in Moveno itself.
Fifth, if you count the European champs in 21.
Well, really?
I think actually the European Champs was probably the only year where it was nice because I haven't been there.
It was raining during the race, but not before, so it was
Yeah,
dry.
and the
course was
duathlon
dry,
the duathlon was pretty nice as well. Apparently, it was sunny. But like for all the 4 years that I've been in Moveno, so the times it was XTERRA Worlds, it's always been pretty crappy. And there's always this phenomenon, right? During the week you're like, the weather's bad, it's cold, it's miserable, and then as soon as you leave you're like, oh, Moveno was so good, I can't wait to go back. And then once you're there, the next year you realize like, oh yeah, I forgot about the weather.
I mean, it is end of September in Dolomites. What do you expect?
Yeah, well, I was there 2 weeks early, and the week before the race it was absolutely stunning. It was like 30 degrees was the highest temperature we had. I don't think it rained a single day. And then 10 a.m. on race week, it just starts, or 10 a.m. Monday on race week, it just starts pouring it down, and it did not stop. And comparing it to the last years, I'd say it was definitely weather-wise the worst year ever. Because usually we had like a sunny short track, and we'd like get sunshine sometime during the Saturday long distance
Last
race.
year wasn't a sunny short track, though.
No.
Last year was
True.
terrible.
Yeah, last year the short track was worse actually.
I remember I traveled up from Switzerland, and I didn't have any rain gear. I literally had one jacket and one pair of long pants, and I was like, I'm gonna need these long pants for a different race. So I literally went in my shorts because I knew I was just gonna get rained on so bad.
Yeah, but it was definitely worse than last year. There was so much more mud on the course. I think last year it was quite... You could like kind of avoid the mud at some parts, and you could like ride most of the course, especially on the uphills. But this year it was unrideable. Like there was so much walking.
And it was raining through the race. Like that didn't happen the last years, because at some point the sun always came out. And if you haven't been to Moveno, the reason, like it always rains before the race, but the course dries out very, very quickly because the hill it goes up directly faces the sun. So as soon as the sun comes out, it's dry within a matter of hours. And yeah, this year it was absolutely terrible until Sunday or Saturday night towards Sunday for the kids race and the sprint. And that was beautiful. The course was dried out. It was really sunny. You could walk around in a t-shirt and shorts. So as soon as the race
Saturday
was over, the weather was better again.
Saturday was carnage. Let's talk about mud tire setups, because this was really, I walked around before doing the cons. I walked around transition, and I had a sneaky look at what everybody was running. I finally had the excuse of being like, okay, I'm neutral. I'm not helping anybody. You can tell me what you're riding, what your setup is. I think in the women's race, I don't remember anything really very striking, but in the men's race, in the women's race, Solenne was rocking, I think, a mud tire on the back
Yeah, exactly.
and a slick on the front.
Yeah, correct.
This is a topic I very much like because I had many discussions about this within the race week. So I think you can generalize it. We saw like 3 sets of, well, maybe 4 setups. People that didn't care for one, then people that just stuck a mud tire on the front and back and like, yeah, good to go. And then you had people that either rode the mud tire in the back and a normal tire in the front, or the other way around. And the logic for that is quite interesting. So I did mud tire in the back and a regular all-round tire in the front, for the reason that on the uphill you need, which was arguably or unarguably the muddiest part, I'd say, you need a lot of traction in the back to put down the power. So that's why I put a mud tire, which clears very easily and it's quite thin, so it kind of cuts through the mud. And you don't need a lot of traction on the front. However, on the downhill, it's completely the opposite because you have these very slick and slippery rocks that don't have a lot of mud like on them. It's just like a very thin film. And there I think you need traction in the front, and you won't get a lot of traction from a mud tire because 1, they're usually thin, and 2, the contact area with the rock is it's just the knobs at the tires, so it's a very small area. And I think there you're better off with a wide tire that has a lot of contact area, and you don't need the mud clearing properties. Now, there are also people, well, I think this argument makes sense and everyone agrees with it. However, there were people that rode a mud tire in the front because they were arguing that the kind of the knobs that cut through the mud would also kind of displace the little slick stuff on the rocks better, and they would then get better traction on the rocks.
Hot take, it didn't matter. It was so muddy that you didn't need the traction on the uphills because you couldn't ride it anyway.
True.
And on the downhill, it was just so slippery that it was just, I don't know, unless you are Jens Emil. Well, we lost the race on the downhill.
We should talk about Jens Emil's bike setup. This is so important.
Yeah, totally. But I just want to say, I don't think it mattered in the end.
I think
it was just so harsh conditions that.
An interesting argument I heard was from Bart Koymans, who we've had on the podcast before, who's a good friend of ours. Bart said, I would rather have a slip on, he had a slick on the back and a mud tire on the front, and he said, I'd rather the bike sends me a signal of it's slipping underneath my butt than on my front bars where I can't control it. That kind of made sense to me. But at that point, I was also kind of thinking maybe might be better just to go double mud.
I agree with that point, and I had a long argument with Bart about this, but everyone agrees with that. I think you would rather slip in the back than in the front. But the question is, what is the right setup to achieve that? And that's where people's opinions...
Honestly, that's the only person that I would actually trust.
I think Ben was in the back.
I think so, yeah, because I spoke to him and I think we disagreed on something. But I wouldn't follow advice from Ben necessarily, not because he's wrong, but because he's
that much better.
He rides very different, like, he doesn't ride like anyone else. I mean, he rides insanely high tire pressures, like 1 point, I don't know what it is in PSI, but it's like 1.8 bar at some point, which is like, because he says, you just have to 26. Move the bike correctly and...
26 PSI.
Yeah, something like that. We should get him on at some point to talk about it, but I don't think what Ben does, that's not something everyone else should be doing, I think.
But because Ben also has an insanely high skill level, and so he's able to get away with these things, and the setup that he uses benefits his skill level. Anyway, we should talk about, really quickly, we'll get into the race very soon, but we should mention Jens Emil. Jens Emil opted to go for a hardtail setup for this race because we've kind of given the rundown of the course multiple times. I'll do it really quickly. The course is basically divided into thirds. The first third is an uphill. The second third is a really technical plateau / uphill section. That's really hard to ride. That's where there was the most mud. And the second third was the downhill down into Moveno. Fast, difficult, but not too difficult, right? And so you have these big thirds. And for the first half of the course, for the first half of the first third, especially for the first uphill, is really, really draft heavy and really dependent on getting the power down. And so having a hardtail, it's just so much easier to get power down. The bike is also lighter than a full suspension bike. That's the reason why Jens Emil opted to, and he didn't have a dropper post either, by the way, which played a really defining feature, the reason I mentioned this. But that's enough about the bike setups. Let's move into the race. Aneta, can we start with the women's race?
Yeah, I think the women's race was nothing like we saw this whole season. Most of the races, the whole season, where me and Isla are first out of the water, and then at some point someone passes us, and that's kind of it. Like, it doesn't mix much. But this race was the opposite of it. So it was me, Isla, and Alanis Siffert that was first out of the water together, and we started the bike together. And very soon, Alanis and Isla dropped me. I thought that they are going a bit too hard, and I couldn't accept the pace.
That's such an odd formulation. Sorry, I can't accept this pace. You have to go slower.
My body was not accepting the pace.
Well, you were also sick going into the race.
Yes, I was sick. But then I caught Alanis back in the technical section. We were both walking most of the parts, but she was obviously struggling, and I haven't seen her for the rest of the race. Mm-hmm. But I've seen many people, which normally does not happen. I got overtaken by Barbara Riveros. I got overtaken eventually by Loanne and Solenne. Then I caught up back with Barbara Riveros. We overtook Isla again because she had a flat tire that she wasn't able to fix completely, and she rode on her rim the whole second loop, which is crazy. And I was caught by Emma Ducru, who had an amazing day. I think this course really fits her. She had a good race last year, and she confirmed it this year again that she does really well on this course. And we got together into T2, me, Barbara, and Emma, with Loanne and Solenne leading the race. And eventually it was decided, the top 5 was decided in the run. Barbara ran faster than me, finished third. I finished fourth. Then Marta caught Emma, finished fifth, and Emma finished sixth. Mm-hmm. We thought that some of the long distance women will play more important role in the race, I guess. But it looked like that on the bike they just struggled in the technical section. Who rode really well was Barbara Riveros. I think that was also a bit unexpected. I think we thought she would struggle a little bit more, but she rode really well. And Solenne didn't win for the first time that the World Championships takes place in Moveno. She was overtaken on the run by Loanne, who had an absolutely amazing race. Yeah. So first World Championship title for Loanne Divousin. Yeah, anything interesting? Anything else in the women's race?
I think there's a couple of storylines which we should really pay attention to. First, obviously, you came out of the water up front with Isla, and I expected everybody, or Solenne and Loanne, to kind of relatively quickly catch up with you guys. But you guys did a really good job of holding them off. And Isla, I know I talked to Doug, and he was following her on the downhills, and he said he's never seen anybody descend like that. So
she's so good.
Isla was just insane, and she was leading the race. I mean, it was really, really impressive for such a young athlete. Then she came into the second lap, so there's obviously two laps on the bike. She came
She
into
was still leading by this time, right?
She was still leading. She came down into Molveno, but she had a puncture, I think, on her rear wheel. She said she stopped, I think, 4 times trying to fix it with more air.
It unfortunately happened, or she noticed it like 200 meters after the technical.
Oh no!
Yeah, so she couldn't fix it there. She did have some tools to fix it, but it was not. The tire was not holding the air, so she was losing it, and eventually rode on the rim.
Yeah, that really sucks because Isla, honestly, the way she rode was really impressive, and she doesn't even fade throughout this race. I mean,
she did so well. Yeah,
she was so strong, and she just had to take. You can look at some of the graphs. You can see how much time she loses just on the second lap of the bike. And yeah, I think she would have finished easily within the top 5 here.
For sure.
And she gets 7th place. But that's one storyline. The second storyline is for the win. I expected to see Solenne and Loanne come past you guys, maybe even on the first uphill. But because you guys were holding so strong, that didn't happen. We had Loanne pass you, I think, on the second uphill. And Solenne was actually
I can't
far
remember,
behind.
actually.
Yeah, and Solenne was actually quite far behind her, I think about 30 seconds or something. Solenne was clearly descending faster than Loanne. But, we talked about this a little bit off air. Solenne very clearly did not have her top power numbers. She was...
I talked to so many people, and there were so many people that felt like it. Yeah. Like, obviously I was sick, but like I didn't have anywhere not near like to what I can do, like on a bike. But Marta also said like she didn't feel great. So I don't know if it was the conditions or what it really was, but many people rode under what they under.
I want to throw this in, right? I know that, well, for one, a lot of people struggled with the cold, so maybe that was a reason that some athletes couldn't put their power down because they were cold. But last year, I analyzed my power after the race a little bit, and I was very confused because I was way below what I'm like physically able to push. But at some point, I realized that when you're racing your mountain bike, you can't always push the numbers you could under perfect conditions. So say you're able to ride X amount of power on a turbo trainer, it just might be that because it's so muddy or because there are roots and you're slipping or whatever, you just can't put down that amount of power. And then if you look at, like, you feel like you're having a bad day and you maybe look at the power numbers after the race, you'll be like, oh yeah, I put down a lot less power than I'm physically able to. But I think the component of the conditions and the course is often overlooked, so maybe that also plays a role.
I'm not sure, because like the course starts flat and then goes on an uphill for quite some time without any technical section. And I have for example, like I know there was a lot of people comparing to their watts, to what they are usually doing in Molveno, and I can give a same comparison. Like I raced a mountain bike race 3 weeks prior the World Champs. It was exactly the same conditions, pouring rain, really cold, and my 20 minutes max watt output was like 30-40 watts lower than what I did in higher than what I did in Molveno, and that's a massive difference.
True, yeah, but also you have to think, right? If you look at a 20-minute power output, 20 minutes puts you just above the maybe like 2/3 of the climb towards the last bit, because I know that for us it took like maybe for the men it took like 35 minutes or something to go all the way up, or 40, can't remember. I don't know. I mean, it's just something that came to mind. I don't want to.
No, I agree. Also, you have to think about the impact of altitude. I mean, Molveno
There's no altitude. It's 500 meters.
No, it's 1,300 meters up in Molveno. I mean, that
at the top.
Yeah, at the top.
Yeah,
it plays a difference.
Top.
I mean,
it does.
Once you get over 1,000 meters, I mean, you do start to see different performance ratings. You just have to kind of adjust for that. But also, it wouldn't explain a 40 or 50 watt drop in your
No.
power.
Well, in
Obviously,
my
always
case,
say-
in my case, I was sick, obviously, but I think that it is the same for many people. That like I know Solenne was also comparing her numbers, and also experienced that like she had so much lower watts in the race. But maybe just a coincidence. Many
anyway,
people didn't have their day.
Solenne was descending much faster than Loanne. We had this awesome moment in T2 where they literally could see each other in transition. They racked the bikes opposite each other, and they were both getting their shoes on at the same time. But then Loanne, Solenne wanted to have about, I'd say, a minute, maybe 2 minute gap in transition 2 on Loanne, because Loanne just is running faster than her. Solenne hasn't had a good run really this year in XTERRA, honestly. She's run well on the road, but she just hasn't.
I mean,
been able to do it.
she has done 3 races, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a really big scope of data points to choose from, but she just hasn't. She hasn't had the same dominance as last year. Who really impressed me was Barbara Riveros. I mean, Barbara Riveros put up a really good bike. Struggled on the downhills, obviously, as you'd kind of expect.
But not as badly as what we would expect, I suppose.
But not as bad as you would expect. I mean, yeah, she lost weight. Let me take a look. At the top of the hill, she was about 2.5 minutes behind Loanne, and at the bottom, she lost 2 minutes in the descent.
But it's not very comparable. I have to add something that played like really a huge role in our women's race, and that what got me actually really mad was that we caught many men already on the first uphill, and they weren't very respectful, to be honest. They were blocking us. They wouldn't. I mean, yes, it was difficult, the conditions, you're happy you're on your bike, but I think if you're an elite man who is caught by women who started 3 minutes behind you, just get away. Just move.
Yeah.
Because
Did you catch a lot of them on the bike already?
yes.
Holy crap.
I was together maybe with 5 guys on that technical section. And so another thing, on that downhill, I first caught Barbara, and then Solenne caught us. And Barbara, I think, was so not confident on the bike that she wouldn't let us pass. So we stayed actually behind her for quite some time until Solenne really forced it and passed her, and I crashed at the same time.
Oh shit.
Really?
Yep. So that's where I lost contact with Solenne. I managed to overtake Barbara, but yeah, on I don't know. That was almost at the end of the technical section. So I think, and I that that's just my personal experience. Like I think from the video, we also saw many other people crashing, and the men's race interfering with the women's race. I know I talked to Hannah. She had actually the same experience with the age groupers that started to catch up with the elite women. So yeah, we've talked about this before. What's the optimal time difference of the elite women and elite men starting? We had anything from 1 minute, 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and I still don't know what's the good option here.
I think it doesn't matter how much the time difference is, because if you end up catching people, and not just in the swim, like you catch people on the bike, it's just a matter of time, unless you make it 2 completely separate races.
But there is maybe the criteria to be racing in elite man or like in elite in general should be stricter, because if you are caught at the beginning of the race by elite women that are starting 3 minutes behind you, I mean, should you be an elite?
You also have to account.
Dangerous territory. You're
Dangerous
gonna upset
territory.
a lot
Dangerous
of people.
territory. I think you also
You're
have
just
to
too
account
good,
for people
Aneta.
who just can't swim.
No, I'm not.
Right, okay, let's quickly switch topics before we get cancelled. One thing I want to say, I've been actually waiting to say that for quite a bit of time. You talked about how suddenly the performances were mixed up quite a bit, Aneta. this is one thing I've said time and time again, and I think Morvan is a perfect example for that. It's the component of racing XTERRA where different courses suit different athletes so
Absolutely.
much, and you get, I think Morvan is a prime example of it because I don't think there's any race like it. It's essentially one long climb and one long descent that you do twice, and yeah, it just mixes up who does well on this course, and you suddenly like see people around you who normally are either way behind you, or you're suddenly in front of people who normally are in front of you. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
especially with the
it's very
conditions, it's just
clear.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we can see it in other races where people regularly perform better than on other courses. Like I had repetitively the best time split in Prachatica on a bike, which doesn't happen in any other race. Like you
Well,
can.
but you also have a home advantage there.
Do I? I don't live there for last 10 years.
Yeah. Another thing that I quite like about Moveno is most of the World Cup races, I think basically every single World Cup race this year was very warm. I don't think there was a single race that was cold.
True. Yeah.
And
Dude,
it was,
Cole played a big part in this race. I mean, if you
yeah.
look at Riveros,
Absolutely. Yeah.
she was all wrapped up. I think Solenne was
Loanne
wearing
also
some.
raced in jacket.
Yeah, Roland raced in a jacket. I think Solenne was wearing something. Isla, I don't remember, but there were a lot of women. It seems to me like the women who actually dressed up, and much more on the women's side than on the men's side, because also you have to kind of account it is somewhat of a longer race time, right? Like a little bit, but it is.
No, half an hour.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a big difference. Plus, you guys go into the cold water after the men have churned it up. So I think that
I
it
think
really.
you drastically overestimate the effect of how
I
much.
don't understand triathlon, man.
No,
Let me have
I
my
was thinking that
theories.
I was thinking that in the last episode. I don't think churning up the water has as much as an effect of that you think it does. Like there is layers of temperatures in the water, but just swimming above it won't mix the water that much.
Listen,
I
I'll
would,
just say it on TV, and now it's going to be fact.
right, sure. No, yeah, I think the cold is. It was the only cold and the only really muddy race this year. Like it was just very different conditions from any other race, and that's something I quite like racing in the cold. I think I would go out on a limb and say I do better in the cold than a lot of other people. Maybe because I'm a fatty. I don't know. I hope we see a few more races like that next year. That'd be good.
It was good. It was really good racing.
Well, the
Anyway,
World Champs will be very different for sure. Where we can
let's get back
up
to the racing. Let's get back to the racing, please.
Men's
Let's have
race,
this
then.
No. I want to
No?
give a top 10. Let's give the top 10 because these women deserve it. So the top 10 in the women's field. Loanne Divousin puts on her running shoes and runs away to a first World Championship title. Really impressive, beating Solenne Billouin by about 4 minutes, which is, I mean, crazy. Solenne, second place. Barbara Riveros, in my opinion, really a big upset. I'm really surprised that she came in for third, but massive performance. Aneta Grabmüller-Soldati in fourth place. What the hell was Aneta doing? She was sick. Not ideal preparation. Coming in fourth, massive result. Marta Mendito in fifth, also a really big result for Marta. I would not have put her near the top five or in the top five before the race because there
She
were
was
so many big.
disappointed though.
But she was disappointed, which was crazy to me. Anyway, really good performance, in my opinion, from Marta. Emma de Croo in sixth, also massive performance by Emma. Isla Hedley, after leading the race, for the first half of it, essentially, in seventh, I think really great, showing a really good spark of promise. It's okay that it didn't result in a top five. It's a top seven at the World Champs. You really ought to be happy about that. Another young woman in eighth, Noemi Boggiato, who I've been corrected about how to say her name. What the hell? I mean, how did she come eighth? I mean, what? I don't understand that. That's crazy.
From
Elisabetta,
being in front of the ninth person. It's pretty simple, actually.
cheers, mate. Elisabetta Curidori, the Italian road triathlete who, raced a little bit of XTERRA in the past, in ninth, and Alanis Siffert in 10th.
Let's pause here. she flew from Molveno to Hawaii to race the Ironman World Championship and came in, I want to say top 10, top 15.
What?
She did really well. So the races were 2 weeks apart from each other. She finished, let me see,
Professional
16th.
Podcasting. 16th. That's crazy.
Yep. So
Does this
really
mean
good
that
result
Loanne
from
Divousin
her.
would have won?
Yeah.
Maybe. Anna Zender was in 11th. I think Anna would have been a little bit on, maybe would have wanted a top 10 here. Then we see a lot of the women who traditionally do the XTERRA circuits in a little bit further behind. Carrie-Anne in 12th and Romy Spulder, I've been corrected on how to pronounce her name as well, in 13th. Really strong field here. I mean, really impressive in my opinion.
I think what's interesting to say that we had many of athletes that don't do regularly XTERRA, unlike the men's race. We had at least like 5 girls in a top 15 who didn't race the whole season, or did just like one race to qualify.
Yeah.
But I think we've had that in the men's field as well. If you look at the last few years, I remember last year Richard Murray came out to race a few years ago.
Not this
Bradley...
year, I meant.
But not as many.
No, I know.
Not as many.
No, and like, a few years ago, like we had Bradley Weiss and some other road people.
Isn't Bradley Weiss actually originally XTERRA athlete?
Yeah, he is originally, but yeah, there was 3 years ago or something. Alistair Brownlee did a bit of XTERRA. He didn't come to the Worlds at the end,
yeah.
but I actually wanted to get onto that as well, because you always get, whether it's men or women, you get some people who come from road triathlon, and I think they come into XTERRA and a lot of people expect them to do really well and like basically beat everyone.
Alanis.
Yeah,
she beat Solenne by 15 minutes in a
road race. Yeah.
In a road race. And here she's what? Let me look at the gap.
But I'm really happy about that, actually. It's
exactly.
XTERRA athletes are good.
It's 25 minutes. 25 minutes is the gap between Alanis and Solenne here. I mean, that's a 40-minute delta. That's insane.
It just goes to show that XTERRA is something different than road triathlon, and it is not at all because people can't hack it in road and then they go off-road because it's easier, blah, blah. That's, some of the bullshit you sometimes hear. It's just a completely different sport with different demands, and yeah, that's why you can't really compare it to road tri. You see that when XTERRA athletes go road, they don't perform as well as in XTERRA and vice versa.
Yep. It's a different skill set, a little bit.
I just had to say that to make myself feel better.
No, but I agree. I'm happy that we didn't have a women's podium made of long distance athletes who came to Molveno to race this one race,
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
Anyway, men's race. Do you know who led out of a swim? You don't. Henry Bramwell.
Henry Bramwell Reeks. I know. Yeah.
What the hell? I mean,
who's that?
He purchased a mountain bike last year, I believe.
It's a British guy. I don't know him personally. I know that Morgan and some of the British guys know him quite.
He's nice,
not quite well, but
nice guy.
Yeah, he raced XTERRA UK, and he was also at European champs in Czech. He's a very good swimmer, but then he basically immediately dies on the bike. Like, I remember he
didn't die. He just didn't do very well. He's still alive.
True.
I mean, let's just specify that.
Let's just say his swim is enormously better than I think his bike and run.
He let out.
One thing I remember, because I passed him on the bike, we went past him with a big group. He had a banana duct tape to his top tube. Like this, it was so odd. And I've seen it in Czech as well. It was just
so good. What more do you need? Nature's electrons.
I don't know. Yeah, it was epic. That was really good.
Anyway,
Banana Boy. That could be his new nickname.
No, don't.
Yeah,
do
tell that to John.
Don't do that to him. Anyway,
okay, cut that out, please. I don't want to be too rude.
We'll leave that in. He leads out of
No!
a swim. He leads out of a swim ahead of Jens Roth. Jens Roth lied to me, told me, oh, I'm gonna go easy. I'm gonna go hard on the bike, but I'm gonna take it easy in the swim. He did not take it easy. He was leading the group. Felix Forresier had his usual this season, his usual really good swim, kind of coming out in the top 5. Ahead of the group of favorites with a little bit of a gap. He looked really strong. But then we basically had everybody coming in. I mean, there was the field here was so stacked that it's really hard to kind of put people into groups. And it was like one big conga line of triathletes coming out of the water, which was really important for Jens Emil Sloff-Nielsen, who was 45 seconds behind. He had a really good swim. 45 seconds for Jens standards is really awesome. 45 seconds is, by the way, to Felix, not to Henry. Henry, by the way, had a little slip and fall in transition, but we won't talk about that.
Me too.
A lot of people did. So Jens had a lot of people to catch up with and a lot of drafting to be done. And so by the time we get away from the draft-heavy section and come into where the standing cameras are on that really, really sharp uphill on the concrete,
yeah.
Everybody's together. Everybody's together. Maxime Chanet has been pulling the group. Michele Bonacina is there. Artur, Felix, the other Artur, and Jens. Everybody's in the group. And at this point, Jens Emil attacks. And we see Felix Forresier following, but no response from Artur. So the two of them work together. They come to the technical section. They're caught again by, I think it was Maxime and 2 other guys. I'm not exactly sure. And the funniest thing in XTERRA ever happens. You have the top 5 men. They come into the technical section, and every single one of them has to climb off their bike and push their bikes because the course was just so incredibly technical. Anyway, Jens attacks again.
Sorry to disturb you.
Go ahead.
Now that we're talking about the walking, there was someone racing in road shoes.
Jens, right?
No, well, I don't know Jens, but Solenne did.
Really?
Yeah, she had a road triathlon. No, not even road triathlon. Road cycling shoes.
Because I know Jens has done that in seasons past.
Yeah, he does that often. Yeah, I do that for short track. But I saw Solenne had a road cycling shoes for the main race. I don't know how she managed to walk in those.
Anyway, well, let's get quickly to the men's race. They basically drop Artur on the first uphill, and then on the downhill.
Do you think that is because he couldn't follow, or do you think he was pokering and relying on his run strength and trying to think that he can outrun them in the end?
Wasn't he a bit sick? I think I've heard something during the race week that he's not in good form.
He seemed in good form. I mean, this is his style of riding, I think, Artur. Artur has a tendency to try to hold back, but we haven't really seen Jens catch the group this early and go only with Felix. So I think at this point it would have warranted a response, and he should have responded if he could. But it's hard to say. I think 50-50.
Because I know we always talk about this, and the thing that sets Artur and also Felix apart from a lot of other people is that they have an insane poker face. They know they run really, really well, and they kind of just hold back and try and stay in touch, and then they know whatever happens, they can outrun most people.
Especially
that's
Artur,
what we've seen so far.
Especially Artur. Artur does that a lot, and he'll do that when he's in the front group. He won't pull. He won't work too much, and he'll be like, okay, I know I have a good run, and maybe Jens can catch me at the end of a bike, but if he catches me by the end of a bike, he's cooked. He's had a huge effort that he's had to put down. But if it's this early, I think the optimal strategy for him to play would have been follow and then sit on and don't do anything. But I know Jens and Felix worked together. They wanted to work together. But Felix was riding a full suspension mountain bike with a dropper seat post. And he goes, and no, this was what happened. And he goes and he drops Jens Emil by 40 seconds on the downhill. And then Jens has to go and and we in the commentary booth thought that Jens had some sort of a mechanical or something. But it wasn't a mechanical, it was just the difference in, equipment.
That's crazy.
It's insane. But I mean, Felix is an incredibly skilled mountain biker, right? I mean,
but so is Jens.
So is Jens. But the difference between Jens and Felix is not that huge. Small, there is a difference, but not that huge.
Especially if you start the descent together.
Do you think maybe that over the years, because it didn't always used to be like that, right? Do you think Felix has stepped up his skill game, so to speak?
Felix has definitely stepped it up. I mean, he stepped it up 2 years ago. I remember when I came into XTERRA, everybody was talking about Jens Emil being the number one guy on the bike, and that actually wasn't true last year and 2 years ago. Artur and Felix, especially Felix, was stronger consistently. Jens would occasionally have a stronger bike split, occasionally, but consistently it was Felix and Artur who were beating him on the bike. Not just in the races, on the bike. They were just stronger. But this year, in my opinion, Jens took a step up. Anyway, Jens has to put in a huge effort to close Felix on the uphill. Closing 40 seconds is just no joke. I mean, it's a huge bullet that you have to spend. He closes him, and then he goes and he gets dropped again on the downhill. I think coming into transition, it was, 40 or 50 seconds, something like that?
I'm wondering what went through his head at that point.
Man, it was crazy. Can you imagine, it was 36 seconds I see in T2. But still, it's 36 seconds. Felix hasn't had the best of runs here in Molveno. Last year, he was leading on the first half of the run, and he got caught. Jens is, in my opinion, I would argue that on a flat, fast course, he might be one of the fastest of the three. I would maybe argue he might be faster than Artur. But Felix just was in control. He runs faster than the both of them, and he wins, completely deservedly. There wasn't even a question at any point. I mean, he just pulls away the gap. Jens comes in for second, beating Artur Forresier, had a faster run split than him. Artur just wasn't able to pull up, those run legs that we're used to him seeing. I mean, in T2, he was what? He was a minute and a half down. I mean, it's a big gap, but also if he was absolutely nuclear, maybe you can close that.
Yet, Jens still had the fastest bike split.
Did he have the fastest bike split?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because of the 45 seconds that he came out behind.
Out of the water, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, because 36 seconds versus 45. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah,
Hold on.
2 seconds comparing to Felix, so basically.
The math checks out. 45 is...
We have two PhDs on the podcast. Yeah. This is what you come for.
Well,
anyway.
Should we run down the top 10 then?
Yeah, let's run down the top 10. Felix Forresier becomes world champion. You could see on the line how much it meant to him. He just had this huge scream. It was awesome. Loved it. Jens Emil in second. Jens is going to be disappointed with that. Jens stepped up his game this year. He had the level to beat everybody. And I think he's going to be really regretting the equipment decisions. But even on a softie, I don't know if he beats Felix, because Felix was absolutely, nuclear.
On a softie.
On a softie, yeah.
On a softie.
On a full sauce.
We're just inventing new words at this point.
What? Let me cook. Maxime Chanet, as always, comes in fourth place. But
was he 4 times fourth?
It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Was he, actually?
I don't know. I don't know his statistics that much. Come on.
Oh,
who do you think I am? I have a life.
Come on, get on with it. We haven't got all day.
Okay, Kieran McPherson in fifth, Sullivan Middaugh in sixth. Huge performance by Sullivan.
Huge performance by Kieran, by the way.
Yeah.
Just to mention that.
Fucking insane. Got
to shout out my bro.
Yeah, do that. Artur Forresier in seventh. Nicolas Duret, who won, I think, XTERRA France in eighth. So that just goes to show how strong that guy is. Porter Middaugh, what the fuck? In ninth place? Excuse my French. But what the hell? What was Porter doing in ninth? He's 18 or something like that?
Just wait. Let's wait a few years because I heard that he is the best runner of all of them,
Really?
of the Middaugh family. Yeah, we'll see what's gonna.
That's
I think there's a lot
ridiculous.
to come.
That's ridiculous. Well, he had a sprint finish with Sebastian Carabin for 9th and 10th, and he just beat him out. Jens Roth came in 11th. What the hell?
It's
What a
insane.
huge performance by Jens. Josiah Middaugh, 12th, and our boy, Ben Forbes. Honestly, I'm sorry, guys. I like all of you, but I think Ben is my favorite. Ben in 13th place. Elliot Labordette,
We said we would run
14th.
top 10. Yeah, down to 15.
And
know.
Scott Anderson in 15th place. Huge performance by Scotty.
I was going to say already in the women's race, I think Ollie has problems counting to 10.
I know, but I wanted to give a shout
know.
out to our girls and our boys. I mean, they all did so well. It was really,
Yeah, I get it.
It's for world fucking
can you say?
champs. I mean, let me do top 15 instead of top 10.
There's so many people for world champs. We can do a few more people than top 10.
It was such a good race. It was such good
What
racing. I
happened
had
to
so much fun.
Michaela?
Michaela didn't have a good race. He led on the bike at the beginning, and then just fell apart.
I think it was too cold for him.
Yeah, maybe. Italians
I
don't race
spoke to
well in
him.
the cold, except for
Yeah.
Marta.
Spoke to him very briefly on the bike, and he's like, "No, it's too cold. It's yeah."
Really? You guys had a conversation in the race?
A few words, I think, or maybe it was after the race. Honestly, I can't remember. Like,
You were that
it's
delusional.
3
at that
weeks
point.
ago. I already forgot everything.
Anyway, good racing, no? How do we feel about this year? I mean, in my opinion, it was the women's race was really exciting. What was really good was seeing a new generation come through, and also there was tension. I mean, seeing Solenne and Loanne in T2 7 seconds apart. I mean, I was like, stuff can happen. Solenne Billouin is 3-time world champion for a reason. Don't write her off. And in the men's race, maybe Felix has a bad run. Maybe he's not nuclear, but it was really good. I think this year was just absolutely awesome.
I think I agree. It was just a really brutal race in brutal conditions, and probably, I would say maybe even the most exciting race of the year.
I think Czech was better. I'm sorry. Czech on the men's side? No, Czech on the men's side, you had Jens and Felix go head to head, going one over the other at different points in the race. I think that was better. But this was really good. This was really good, not to take away from Moveno.
So this was the last year we saw World Championship in Milvano, and next year we going to New Mexico. How different this race is gonna be?
New Mexico is going to be at elevation. We know that much.
How much elevation are we talking?
No idea.
2,200 or something. It's above 2,000.
2,200. That is
That's
significant.
insane.
That is.
So one thing about like elevation, like how people always say, altitude training begins at like 2,000. That's where you see adaptations.
Yeah.
Which I think often leads to the misconception that like 1,000 meters won't make much difference, but it actually does. Just to get back to what we said before about Moveno being between 1,000 and 1,300, it can make a difference. Ruidoso is probably going to be much, much worse. So it'd be interesting to see how people try and adapt to it. If they just try and go out to New Mexico weeks before, or if they, I don't know, like French people maybe go to Fondremo or something.
Or you can do heat training.
I
come
This
from
is going to be
Norway.
a very, very interesting debate. Let us keep that topic for the episode when we're going to talk about how to trade for XTERRA, potentially have some coaches on here, because I have some experience myself with
Training for XTERRA.
with
Yes, you do.
training for XTERRA and also with heat training. I've done that quite extensively.
But have you done heat training for heat, or have you done heat training for altitude?
I have done a regular heat training protocol that you would do to see the heat training adaptations, but I've done it mainly to get heat adaptation. But but it's a controversial topic. But I quite like that. I would say let's not get too deep into that now, because otherwise this episode's going to be very, very long.
And it's going to be about a lot of random topics. I mean,
I just quickly Googled the weather in Ruidoso in October.
It's Ruidoso.
Ruidoso.
Right.
Typical day ranges from 22 degrees Celsius to 7 degrees Celsius.
Whoa.
I think it's a very arid environment. Like, it gets quite warm during the day because of the sun, obviously, but then it cools down quite a lot at night.
Yes. And only
excited.
10% chance of rain. That's good.
I'm excited. I think it will. I think the Middaughs are going to be the family with that, because they also come from elevation, right? I think they're from Colorado.
Yeah, I think they come from Colorado, and I don't know if they live in Avon or somewhere around there.
They live in America.
They live in Colorado, and it's around 2,000 meters above the sea. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for this episode, right?
Is it?
I think so.
That's just like a knife. Just right. Stop before we get into too many controversial topics.
That's enough. Aneta's said enough stuff.
No,
So
I think that's okay.
This has been a fantastic episode. Thank you guys so much for doing it. Thank you for everybody to listening. And we will. We won't hear you. We won't see you. You'll hear us soon. I hope.
Hopefully.
So that's probably one of the worst outros I've ever done, but I'm keeping that in. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.
Ciao.